Hello and welcome back to another Microsoft Flight Simulator tutorial. Today's video will be a bit different. My name is Legion for those of you who are new to this channel, and today I will be going over how to import 3D models, get the lighting all sorted, and then turn some areas into roads if required. Now, this won't go over a full tutorial in how to build each and every model, so you will require some knowledge in how to do that. Or, of course, if you're just using something like 3D Warehouse and don't wish to change the design, and you just simply want to put it in the game, then you can also look at doing that. Now, today I will have two links in the description, one for a paid and one for a free version of a importer for Blender, which will allow you to import 3D models from places such as 3D Warehouse and so on. Now, as you can see here, I've gone ahead and recreated Marvel Stadium, done all the lighting for that. We've also done Eureka Tower over here. Now, as some of you may know, Australia unfortunately didn't get exactly much scenery at all in terms of buildings. So, of course, we've gone ahead and recreated the Eureka Tower, and just as an example as to what we actually got, for those of you who know where the MCG is, now you can see over here, it's looking pretty poor. It's a circle of apartment buildings. So we're going to go ahead and eventually fix that up. But in today's video, we'll actually be going over and adding in the Westgate freeway, which is currently missing from the game. So I'm going to quickly run through my Sydney scenery for you. I have redone the lighting on the Opera House as well as doing the Sydney Harbour Bridge. All of these models have been recreated and handcrafted. So if you'd like to download them, you can do so by joining through my Discord. Now, we're going to quickly jump into Sydney. I'll show you that, and then we'll get over to Google SketchUp and Blender. I'll see you there. Okay, so here we are in Sydney. You can see I've gone ahead and redone the lighting on the Opera House, as well as we've gone ahead and recreated the Sydney Harbour Bridge, as by default it's just flat. Now, to most of you who like flying around Sydney, of course this isn't exactly appealing, so I've gone ahead and created some freeware models. As I said, it's available in my Discord. Now, as you can see here, we've gone ahead and done all the lighting as well and got the textures right, so the cars will actually drive over the bridge. They will actually go onto there over time. There you can see one going over now, and they will continue to keep spawning at random sort of things. So we're going to jump into SketchUp now and a bit of Blender. But before we do that, I suggest, if you haven't already, it is a big key to this video. Make sure you go to General tab in your settings, go to Developer, turn Developer Mode on. Once you do that, I then suggest that you can click Help and make sure you run the SDK install. This will make sure that you've got all the files you need to build the packages. Once that's done, you can go ahead and install the plugins that are in the description to Blender, and then when it does its render, you should, by rights, be able to go ahead and build the package. Then I actually already have the Westgate Bridge model here. So I've sorted all this out here, and we'll be getting this in today. Now I've already gone ahead and exported this, but I'll show you how we do it. So I like to select everything in here, just so it's got everything, and go to File, down to Export, 3D Model, and then we're just going to select here, Object File, so OBJ. Now, as you can see, I've already done mine, so I'm not going to run it again, but in terms of options, you can just leave these all default. I haven't changed them and they seem to be working, so I like things that work and I'll keep it that way. And then, of course, click Export. So once that's been done, we can go over to Blender, which we've got here. Now, once in Blender, go to File, New, General. I'm going to save what I was working on. And what we just want to do is highlight all this and hit our Delete key. Now, once that's done, we can simply go to File, go to Import, go down here to where it says Wavefront OBJ, and run it from there. Now, there is a plugin available in the description, as I mentioned, that will actually say SketchUp. Now, this program, I believe you can get a free trial of. I have the paid edition, which is SketchUp Importer Pro, which also has an import menu here for OBJ. So I'm going to use this because I find it works a little bit better, and it's a bit easier to find all the materials as you need them. In terms of the freeware version of this, you can actually look through that for GitHub has couple of free ones on there. I don't know how stable they are. I haven't exactly tested them to full potential, but I do suggest that you, if you can afford it, try and get SketchUp Importer Pro. Okay, so once we have this here, I want to select a wavefront OBJ. You can do this through the file menu, as I said before. We're just going to hit import. Now this, when you hit import, it will bring up this file here, which is just your file manager. So I've saved mine to my desktop. So I'm just going to locate that here. So go here, the Westgate, and we're just going to load the OBJ. Now all you do once you do that, click it once, import. Now you can see that's put this in here. A little bit skewy. Okay, so what we're going to do is hit R on our keyboard, then X, and then we're just going to type 90, which will rotate it 90 degrees. Okay, so you can see here it has added that in for us in terms of everything here. Had a couple of issues. You just got to hit RX, type in 90 to rotate it, or whatever you need to rotate it upright, and then hit enter on your keyboard. Now you can see here by default it's not loading any of the textures, so it looks very, very plain. So all we need to do to fix that is go up to where it says shading. Once we load it in the shading model, we may have to adjust it. There we are. So I just zoomed out a bit there, and you can see it's got the road, it's picked up the flags, it's done everything for us. Now, to some of you, this might look very completed or ready to go. It's far from that. So as part of installing the SDK, there is another file there to prepare a Blender model for your game. So what we're going to do is go up to our scene collection here and just open this up. Now you can see there's 83 different textures for this model. That does include, of course, the barriers and things like that. Now what I suggest you do is when you click on one of these, now by default it will load a texture. Now you can see here that it has already gone and selected practically the whole bridge on us, which isn't exactly what we want. So if we go down here and click the world, and we can get rid of surface and that one, and we just want to open up MSFS material params. So in here, this will have to be done for every layer to get it to work correctly. So we just need to find out here, obviously our Australia flag and Victoria flag. We're going to go to our textures file for this model. So I have already got mine here. Let me just bring it up onto the right screen for you. Okay, so we've got that here. Now if I go into Westgate here, you can see there are several different things in here. Now I would suggest, if you can, link them all up to what they're meant to be in terms of that. But for this one, our Australian flag is just called Australian_flag.png, and the same for Victoria. So all we do there is click on our first object here. We go down here, hit select, and we're going to set it to standard. Now by default on some areas, this will change said flag also in this model to a solid color. Now you can see if we flip over the other side, it hasn't done much. It's just a white object now in terms of that. So what we need to do is then go down here to the albedo, hit this icon here, and we're just going to type in Australia flag. So you can see it auto-populates with the models that are linked, and once we click that, you can see it pops up. Now if we go over the other side, you'll notice that it isn't there. What we need to do is scroll down just a little bit more, and one of the options you'll see here is double-sided. So once you enable that, you'll notice it now comes up on both sides of the model, which is perfect. It's exactly what we want. Now, you can just go through and do this with all the models. I will be back once I have completed this, and I'll show you the next part. Okay, so another thing here, as you can see, I am currently doing the light poles for this bridge. Now, as you can see, I've already gone and done it on this one, but just above the double-sided section for this, there's this option. Now, by default, it will be set to opaque. Now, if you're using a PNG where it has transparency, obviously you'll see this nasty looking white fill to it. All we need to do is go to where it says alpha mode, click the opaque, and go down to where it says dither. Now you'll notice that gets rid of the background, and then it will create the model as it's meant to look for us, which obviously if we're not super close to it, it looks rather nice, and it will have the lines across the whole bridge. So I'm going to keep going at this, and I will be back when I'm finished. Okay, so here I'm doing part of the road. I thought I'd just show you guys this one here. So you can see here I've selected this section of the road, which if you're not sure how to find a section along here, you can simply go up to the modeling tab in Blender and then find a layer that you're after and just hit select. Now if I click off this, you'll see it's all white at the moment. And if we go to that and hit select, it highlights it orange. So we can see here, section 17 is the file we want. So if we go here and we write in section 17, like so, we hit enter, that links the texture. So you can see that texture's there. The problem is because this is a road, the cars aren't going to know how to drive over this yet. So if we scroll down here, all we want to do is go down here, turn collision material on, and road material. Now this will be under your MSFS material params. Now you just do this for all of your road textures and then the cars should drive across it. So I'll keep continuing with this and I'll be back with you a bit later. Alrighty, so I've now gone and finished the whole bridge. I've got all the textures linked up, making sure that of course here, make sure you use the MSFS material params. If you don't have this, just as another note, make sure that you enable it. The download for it is in the description, but you just have to go up to edit, preferences, then your add-ons are in here, click that, and then you would just go install and wherever you downloaded the file. Now it will download as a zip, but keep it as that because that's how Blender installs it. Click on the zip, hit install, it'll pop up, tick the box, and then you should see this option. You may need to restart Blender first, but I forgot to mention that just before. So now that we've done our bridge, I'm rather happy with that. Obviously there's a couple of white bits here, which I'm not too fussed about, considering as I mentioned, it's freeware. But we've done our collision model for the road, so hopefully all of that works, and of course a bit of the ground to try and blend it in the best we can. Alright, so all we do now is we can highlight the whole thing, which we should be able to do like that. Anyway, yep, cool. We can just hit File, Export, and we just want to export it here as the extended GLTF 2.0. Now this is in the description to get it out in this version. Alright, so we click on this one. That will then bring this window up, which says, where do you want to save it, essentially. So for me, I'm going to put it into my development folder for models. I'm just going to make a new folder in here. Actually, we'll make two because it tends to go back one. We'll do bridge, game ready. Just do the export. Okay, and then we're going to go into this folder. So now from this folder on here, we will call this the Westgate because that's what my model is. You can see that no spaces, nothing like that. Just want to go up here to format. I want to make sure we go GLTF separate, which will do the GLTF bin and textures, all different files. For the textures folder, just want to do a double full stop and then a /, like so. And then we type in texture here, like that. Then of course you can put in your copyright or whatever there. I'm not going to bother about that. Now it does say here, remember export selection. I've ticked the box a few times, it doesn't seem to do much. Now what we want to do here is click on MSFS and we want to go down to here to generate and append XML. So our XML file name, we'll call the same thing, so Westgate, just so the game doesn't get too confused. And we want to generate a GUID. Once you've done that, you want to go include and select objects and custom properties. And then transform we don't touch. Geometry, I tend to go apply modifiers. I find that that works the best. Make sure your images are set to automatic. What else have we got? And that's it for those options. And then all we do now is click export. So that'll run the export for us. But now we would go to desktop. We would find our FS folder. I can find it. There we are. And I want to go into the Westgate. And you can see here there's a couple of new folders. So there's textures, this is what's needed for the game, and bridge game ready. So these are the files that we'll need for there. So I'm going to show you what we do with them. So first of all, we want to open this file here, the XML. You can do that with Notepad, Notepad++, or anything else. I'm using Visual Studio Code. We just want to make sure that this here, the version number is set to 1.1. If it's set to 1.0, it will not make the model for you. So make sure that's 1.1. And just save that. If yours is already done like that, then perfect. We're going to highlight these, and we're just going to copy them over. Okay, so here I have both of my folders already open. Now, what you'll need to do here, I installed the SDK in my C drive. Now, just in the top layer of my C drive, you can see here it says MSFS SDK. We go ahead and open that up. Then we go to samples, and we just want to go down to here where it says simple scenery. Now, of course, your packages folder will be empty. So for the sake of the video, I will remove that. And then we've got package sources here. Now this should also be empty, so I'm going to remove them. Now make sure you have your game closed. You will have a objects.xml folder in here, or file should I say. If you don't, it probably will generate one off the first build. So we've got them there, that's all sorted. Don't worry about this, nothing needs to change in that just yet. So what we're going to do is go to model library, and then over here in our file that we've just exported, we want to make sure we copy all of these and paste them into the model library file. What we want to do here is create a folder and call this what our file is. So then we put that into there like so, just drag that in. Then we want to go back in here, get our textures. Now we can see they're all there, just looking pretty good. Now I'll show you this here. So I'm going to copy this across like so. Now they're now in and ready to be built in the game. Okay, so here we are in the game. Now, of course, if we were to load into Melbourne as it is currently, which is where our scenery is planned to be placed, we won't be able to actually spawn in the model. So I'm going to load into the game, and I'll show you what I mean by that. Now, why this is basically because we've generated the model file and the data for that model, but the game doesn't quite know how to read it just yet. So we have to build what's called a package. Now this would be where you would set your package name and so on, which I'll run you through in just a moment here. Now, one of the errors that you may come across, which I'll show you here, is when your images aren't in a multiple of 4. So for example, your image, if it was, let's say 413, 13 isn't a multiple of 4. Meaning that that image will not be able to be converted by the SDK into the DDS file that it requires. So in that event, you do have to go and manually reset them. So if we go up here to dev mode and go to open project, now you just want to find wherever you installed your SDK to. Mine is under C drive, MSFS SDK, samples, simple scenery, and we just want to open the one here that says scenery project.xml. Click open on that. It's going to take a moment just to load up. Now you can see here it's picked up Sydney Harbour because I haven't made a new one since. Okay, so that is fine in terms of this. So what we're actually going to do here, so we're going to go here and rename it just to Westgate. Hit enter. It still only changes the name over here. I'm going to do the same here, Westgate, like so. Now it's already put my name in there because I already had it filled. Now we're just going to hit build package. Now it's going to ask us if we want to save. Click yes. Now more than likely this is going to come up with some errors in a minute, which you'll see. Okay, so you can see here that it has made a bunch of bitmaps, which is what we need for this file. But if we scroll up a little bit further, you can see here that, for example, bridge 5 lane section 7, it couldn't make. Section 7 couldn't make, 11, so on, 17, and whatever. And it'll go through that. And what we're looking for is this little bit of text here that says package builder, finished 1, skipped, whatever, 28 done, and 55 failed. So what that's telling us is that 55 of the images in this location aren't of multiples of 4. So we need to go and recreate those images or resize them. So what we're going to do is jump back into here. This is obviously where our files are. And we want to go over to where it's got texture here. Now I'm using Photoshop today, so I'm just going to run you through one image. If you're using something like GIMP, however you would resize the whole image, then I suggest you go and do that. So I'm going to open this up here. Now you can see here that it is just a square box for us essentially. And if I press Control, Alt, and I, you can see this box pops up, which says image size. Now, obviously, 529 would not be a multiple of 4, so we need to set this one to 528, like so. And then 349 also isn't a multiple of 4, so this needs to be set to 348, like so. Now, as for the resolution, you do not have to change that, leave that as is, and then we just want to hit OK here, and then Control S to save. So we've done the first one. Now, the painstaking process is obviously going through and doing that for each individual image. After you're done, I suggest that you make a copy of it in a separate folder to both your model and, of course, where we're building the package, just in case you need to do another remodel. If you find, for example, the UV texture doesn't work or similar. It saves you a hell of a lot of time rather than going through and doing all this again. Now, for those of you that haven't, can't do the shortcut for whatever reason, you simply go up to image here, and we just want to go to image size, and that brings up the same window. So that's how you do it in Photoshop. I don't believe that has changed in quite a few versions, so if you're a bit behind, then that should still work. If you're on GIMP or similar, I'd suggest you do a quick Google search for that. I personally haven't used GIMP, so I wouldn't know. But I'm going to go ahead now and fix all those images up, and I'll be back. Alright, so here I've got all the images that I've gone through and resized to multiples of 4. So I'm just going to copy these, and we're going to open up the texture file. I'm actually just going to select all of these and delete. And we're just going to paste in our new ones. So we don't need to relaunch the game after doing that, not normally anyway. So we're going to go down here in the console and click clear. That'll get rid of all the error codes. Now what we want to do is go back over to our inspector, hit build package. Okay, so this will go through and do what we can. Now you can see a few of these have errored out because there's already files for them. So if we scroll up here, so one failed. So we need to find the one that failed, but that's a lot better than 52. Alright, so we managed to locate which one is actually failing. So you can see here, Westgate Bridge _5 lane section 15. So this one here is currently failing. So what we need to do is then go back into our files here. We just want to find that one there. So it was Westgate Bridge 5 lane section 5. So the Bridge 5 lane section 1, 3, 4, and 5. So it does exist there. I'm just going to open this up. Control Alt I again. Just want to make sure. So it actually is the right format still, which is fine. So we're just going to resave that one, like so. Build package again now that we've saved that. See if we still get the same error. Okay, so it failed to convert Westgate Bridge 5 lane section 15. Okay, so now I'm going to find lane section 15, which is this one. I'm going to check this one. Okay, so you can see here that it isn't multiples of 4, which is why it's failing. So if I change this to 4, and 612, cool. I just Control S to save that and do that. Now that's been saved directly into that file. It's going to go here and say that it's looked for the new file. We're just going to go clear again, and we're going to hit build. Now this time, it should go through and rebuild everything that it's already done. Now you can see here that it's now done. It's finished. 83 was skipped because we've already done that. 1's done and 0 have failed. Now that's what we want to see. If you have one single failure, that can be the make or break between the entire build not working. Okay, so I'm just going to close out of my game now. And we've got these files here. So that's cool. Now what we want to do now, from your model library texture file, we just want to go back up to package sources, simple scenery, and go into packages. Now you can see this one here. Now all we do here is copy this, then we go into our game file. So I've got a shortcut saved, but you just want to go to your app data roaming, Then find your game, go into packages and select community. Now mine, I've got custom liveries and stuff in here. And of course you can see the other sceneries that I've done. So we can just go ahead and paste this in there like so. Now we have to restart the game because that file didn't already exist. If you were doing a remodel as such for a file that was already in there, so let's say when you loaded it in and you weren't quite happy with it and you had to adjust the model, you just do the same thing, but you wouldn't have to reload your game. You can simply reload the asset. Now this game is going to start up for me and I'll be back when that's over. Okay, so here we are back in the sim, as you can see. Now what we're wanting to do is find the location that we would like to bring in our scenery. So I'm just going to quickly scoot over here because where we actually need to put it, I spawned a little bit away, but where we actually need to put it is right across this bit here. So obviously this bit here would be the Balti Bridge, and then over here we've got the Westgate. So of course neither of them exist, and I do intend on building both of them. So we're going to quickly jump up here into the dev camera. So we can do that by simply clicking camera up the top, dev camera. Our plane is going to fly away on its own, that's fine. Now we want to go to open project like we did before and load the same one. Now you can see that's here. This time we want to click the little blue arrow that's beside it, and then we've got my scene. Now simply click load in editor. Now this is going to change you to daytime by default. So if you're planning on doing any lighting, you will have to reset it back to night. You're simply going to go up to here. Now once you've got this selected and you click load, it'll bring up the material editor. Okay. It'll also bring up your scenery editor. Well, it should. Simply click view in here. Make sure that you have objects selected. It'll bring up this menu here. Simply all we want to type in here is, for example, in this case, Westgate, and click the asset. Now we just hit add here. Now you can see it's automatically put that in. Now, all we need to do here is now get it all aligned the way we want. So you can simply, so to summarize it for you, so the green, you can move it in any direction, okay? Blue, you can just move it in that direction. And then red, the opposite to the blue. Now, if you want to move it upwards, this is where you got to make sure that you have that properties window on, which view, properties, and this little box here comes up. So what you do is snap to ground, turn that off. Then this green arrow here, let me just shift these out of the way a little bit for you. So let's open this up just a little bit. So this green arrow here lets us adjust the height. Now let's say the bridge was too big in this case. All we do is middle mouse click. So your mouse scroll wheel, just click in the center, and then that changes. This is the rotate, so you can rotate this in any direction. If you mouse click again in the center, the middle mouse button, this is now scale. So if we click on the white dot in the center and drag our mouse left or right, you'll notice it scales it to whatever size we need, for example, which is perfect. So I'm going to undo that because I don't need to scale it at this stage. And we're just going to move it into position. So I'm going to go back to my movement tool. Now we need to bring this down. I'm just going to go over here because this is where it will connect. And you can see here where it drops by default. Okay. And we've got a little bit of scenery here. Now you'll notice the cars don't currently go onto this area, which that is fine for the moment. Now what we want to do is, of course, get this building moved into position. So we're just going to get it to roughly about the same level. It's a little bit hard to do from a distance like that, but once we get above it, we can then move it sort of over the existing lines up there. Might not be 100%. Now, if you want to zoom in and out like this, just use scroll wheel. It's very straightforward. Now you can see here, this is our first issue, is that it currently doesn't line up. Now this looks to currently be possibly a scaling issue. So we click our button there and just scale it up just a little bit more, like so. There we go. And now we can use our blue arrow to move it across. We want to just sink it down just a touch, which will put that bit into the ground. Now you can see here, it's built the bridge. It goes across. but then we have this side here, it's out. So now what we're facing is obviously both a scale and form issue. So we need to get it in place on both, so we drag it back here. So now you can see here, that side looks like it's in place. And if we go down here, it's also in place. Obviously it won't be 100% perfect because the game does auto-generate some things itself. You can see currently we've got it far too high. So I'm just going to drag this back down again. So bring this down a bit, like so. Obviously it needs a little bit more. Just too much. Very, very fiddly process. Alright, I'm just going to leave it like this. So now we've got our bridge in here. I can scroll through. Everything looks good on this side. And we'll have a look on this side. Same there. I'm pretty happy with that. So now what we're going to do is we want to go down here to where it says save scenery and just save it. And that means that you're not going to lose it from this point. Now, this is the slightly trickier part. So what we want to go and do is click up where it says scenery under objects, and we're going to add it, the rectangle. Now I'm just going to remove the search here, which is fine. Let me go down here and click add on the objects panel. You'll notice it's added this rectangle here. So we're going to move this. This is basically, it does the terrain and everything that we need. I don't currently know how to use the polygon tool in this yet. But definitely I imagine that would be a much easier way of doing things. But I'm just going to rotate this sort of into position underneath. This should obviously be where the default bridge is. So we want to make sure that the default one doesn't appear. So to do that, we're going to go into our scaling tool, like so. And in this case, we're just going to make sure that we've got this white. So each of these four corners here, the white ones, they are what you can scale out of the box. And then this is just the movement of the actual whole box. So I'm going to zoom out here because we need quite a large area. I'm going to click this one and we're just going to drag it all the way out to about there. And then we can click the other side and do the same. Now what this essentially is going to do is it will begin to get rid of the buildings. So as you can see here, it's currently still building that bridge, but then in our properties here, if we turn terraforming off and go to exclude buildings, the bridge is no longer spawning, which is exactly what we want. Now, obviously the thing that will happen here is that they will continue to drive along any area they're permitted to. So in this case, we would need to have a couple of these to cover the whole area of the bridge, which of course in these areas is going to make it a little bit tricky. So I'll be back once I've got all them sorted. So some of you might wonder with the green ones, what they do compared to everything else. So the green ones will let you basically spin it around. So if I click here and move this, you'll notice it spins. Okay, so if we get it in a rough angle of where we want it, so we're just going to go about there, and then we click where this little 0 is, it'll bring up this window. This is how you move the whole thing. So if we want to put it, let's say about there, okay, which you might have a couple of cars spawn under there, but once again, it depends how in detail you want to go with it. So you can see there, it's only roads that spawn there by for now anyway, which is fine. So if we actually go here, once again, exclude buildings and turn terraforming off, it will now keep the rest of it like it was. Now, if you have this, for example, for this side, you can actually go over to your layers here. Now you can see a rectangle, no building, and we can actually duplicate it. So if you click duplicate, that's now made the second one. So if you click in the center of this, we can now move this one over to the other side, just so you save yourself some time in having to redo that over again. Now I'm going to quickly move this over here. Now we need to rotate this obviously, so put it, let's say like that. Move back to the center and across like so. Now as you can see, it's not 100% perfect, but for what we're doing, I think it's going to be fine. Some of the cars do some weird stuff anyway, so it's not like anyone will notice. Alrighty, so now we can simply save the scenery like so, which is what we need. Now, as you can see, it's already got terraforming off. all this can be left as default, and it's in the game. Now, when it comes to getting it into the actual game, so obviously we can see it here, but if I was to turn dev mode off right now, the bridge would disappear and it'll go back to default. So what we need to do again is go to Westgate now that we've saved our scenery. So make sure under my scene, you go and save scenery under here. Then we go back to Westgate in Project Editor and we go build package. Now this is going to go through and fix anything that it's missed. So you can see here 0 have failed again, which is perfectly what we want. Now we can just go back to our packages that it's done for us, and we can now copy the new one into the game. Okay, so here I am in my community folder. I can now delete this Westgate one. We can paste this one in with the new model. Go into our game. We want to close out the game now, because this is the test to see if it will be in the game when we spawn. So once my Steam chooses that it wants to stop, I'm going to go through and we'll hit play. And I'll see you back when we're loaded into the sim. Okay, so here we have just loaded back into the sim, and you can see our bridge is there. Now as we get closer, you should start to see the cars begin to drive onto the bridge. And then I will show you how we do the lighting, and that'll be it for this video. I hope you did enjoy. If you did, make sure to hit the like, leave a comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. If there's any questions that you have, please feel free to jump into the Discord, and I'll do my best to answer them. In terms of modeling, I am planning to do more and more videos on this, so I do hope to see you around a bit more. So you can see there that the cars are indeed driving over our bridge. A few of them are going a little bit off track, but that's fine. It's doing pretty well for what it's meant to. Now you can see here, they're obviously driving through where they're not meant to, so all we need to do to fix that is simply make that box for the cars a little bit bigger, a little bit wider as to where they're allowed to drive. But this whole bridge has been set so they can drive over it. So obviously if that bit wasn't there, they would be able to continue as needed. Alright, so you can see there that our bridge has worked, which is perfect. And then of course, I'll show you the collision model and what I was saying with that before. So what tends to happen is that we're able to land on the roads, or what should be roads essentially. So I'll just show you here. So we should be able to land on this. Or not, apparently. Okay, well the collision model isn't working as I mentioned, so it hasn't picked this up as a road sadly, but that's all trial and error. But anyway, so the idea would be to obviously have this all as a collision model. There we go. So this bit is picked up as a road, the other bits haven't quite synced. So that's fine, it's seeing that as a road, which is perfect. And then of course it begins to dip out again. Alright, so what we are going to do here is obviously the bridge would need to be moved over. I'd need to fix the model and all that. But for the time being, I'm just going to show you how we go about getting the basically getting the lighting onto it. So I'm going to go ahead here and we're going to open up that project again. Now this will reload the model, of course. So we'll take a minute. Okay, so it's reloaded the model. We're going to go down to here, hit my scene, load in editor. Now you can see it's all disappeared. Now you can do this over and over and over again until you get everything right. As long as you make sure that if you do a rerun of the model, so if you have to do another export, for example, so while that loads in, I'll show you here. So if you do another export of your package sources for your model files, you just want to make sure that in here under the XML, copy and paste this whole thing to somewhere safe. Right? So then when you generate your new file, you should only update these two. This one shouldn't have to change. And then in doing that, what will happen is you won't have to relink up those in the sim. So you won't have to reposition it or anything like that. Okay, so what I'm going to show you here is now the lights. So I'm going to make it night. Just going to make it pitch black. And this is very, very simple in terms of getting everything sorted. So same thing under scenery. This time we're just going to type in light, for example. If we scroll down, eventually you'll start to find light cold, light warm, medium, posts, and all that sort of stuff. Okay. Now, this comes down to what lighting you're chasing. For this bridge, it is like a yellowy color, so I'm probably going to go with the warm. And all we do is, once that's selected, we hit add. Now you can see this has added a little block. It doesn't look like it's doing very much at this stage. That's because it's not. So then under properties, we want to make sure that snap to ground is turned off. Once that's done, we can raise this up, and you can see the moment we start to lift it, the light starts to work. So then we'll just get it into position, same as before, same sort of movement to wherever you like. And then let's say we wanted it at the top of that, you can put that there. Now same thing is if you save your scenery. So if we went down here and click save scenery now, when this model is built again, it will have that light. So you can do that if you need a brighter set of lights. So for example, if you want it there still, but just brighter in that area, from what I've found, you can just duplicate it a few times. As you duplicate, oops, that was the bridge. We don't want to duplicate that. So our lighting, if I duplicate that, you'll see as you do it, it gets brighter. You can do that the whole way along the bridge and achieve the, well, you can achieve what I did with the Sydney Harbour Bridge. So once again, if you enjoyed the video, remember to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.